Mr. Smink plotted to kill me and several other public officials involved in the administration of criminal justice because he was charged and went to prison for committing an arson in Cumberland County.
Hired a hitman, or who he believed to be a hitman, to carry out an extended list of individuals he believed had wronged them. There are 5 named individuals within the indictment who were prosecutors and judges. When he was in conversation with the individual he believed to be the hitman, he was very clear to the hitman that he had no concerns if there were collateral damage. For lack of a better word, he said, quote, "Whatever happened, happened." And so this defendant was very clear with a man that he believed killed people for a living, that he did not care who else was killed during the course of these crimes. He wanted his revenge plot carried out, and he did not care who else was taken down with that.
In 2019, the OHSP had received a handwritten letter from Andrew Penna regarding a murder for hire plot orchestrated by a cellmate, defendant Smink. On March 29, 2019, OHSP detectives in New Jersey Department of Corrections Special Investigation Division, investigator Brian Bostic conducted a formal interview with Penna at Northern State Prison. During the interview, Penna indicated they'd become cellmates with defendant Smink in 2016. At that time, defendant Smink was actively soliciting other inmates to murder or extort a list of about 20 people. Specifically, Penna informed interviewers of specific judges and prosecutors that were being targeted to be murdered. Subsequent investigation determined all those individuals being targeted to be murdered were involved in the prosecution of defendant Smink's arson case in the Superior Court of New Jersey Law Division Criminal Part in Cumberland County. Defendant had pleaded guilty to arson or aggravated arson, conspiracy to commit aggravated arson, and defendant was sentenced to an aggregate sentence of 15 years incarceration in the New Jersey State Prison. There's probably merger, subject to the No Early Release Act's 85% period of parole eligibility and 5-year period of parole supervision. Prosecutor Jennifer Webb McRae was the Cumberland County prosecutor at the time. First Assistant Prosecutor Harold Shapiro was the first assistant that handled the sentencing. Assistant Prosecutor John Jesperson handled the prosecution. Judge Robert Malstein was the judge that imposed the sentence. And Judge Robert Becker had handled motions and was involved in the case. This was a plea agreement. He agreed to plead guilty. And in order to do that, you have to have knowingly, voluntarily, intelligently waive your rights, and you have to voluntarily place everything on record. You're totally aware of what you're going to get at sentencing most times, and he was upset about that. So defendant blamed the victims as the reason that he was incarcerated for such a lengthy period of time and came up with a plan to have them killed.
Judge, I haven't learned the facts of this case. I didn't want to know because I want to be able to have some semblance of sleep at night. So I'm hearing things that I hadn't heard before today. As a prosecutor who had a previous life representing criminal defendants, I always look for whether defendants we encounter have insight, whether they show remorse, and whether they can be rehabilitated. I would respectfully submit to you that Mr. Smink has demonstrated through his actions that he cannot be safely rehabilitated. Even when he took responsibility for his actions by way of a plea, he was so aggrieved that he sought to kill and maim those who simply swore an oath to support the Constitution and administer justice fairly. Even when he took a plea, he continued to attempt to gather others to engage in further criminal activity. And because Mr. Smink has demonstrated and proven proclivity to act upon his agreements for his personal gain, I'm asking you to sentence him to the maximum sentence that is possible. It will make me sleep better at night knowing that Mr. Smink is not out in the community fomenting plans of revenge due to his failure to take responsibility for his actions and his lack of insight. As Cumberland County Prosecutor, I know I signed up for my job. As the front-facing symbol of my office, it could be argued that I knew the risk when I did. But Judge, my family, my neighbors, my church family did not. And when they read that someone was arrested in a plot to kill me, they feel a little less safe spending time in spaces where I am present. In addition to that, there are several thousands of young people who I encourage and who want to go into public service as assistant prosecutors. and others who dream of one day becoming Superior Court judges, who need to know that when someone does what Mr. Smink has been proven to have been done by a jury of his peers, that the court will sentence him to the most serious of penalties to specifically deter him, but as importantly, to deter others from attempting to disrupt or dismantle the fair and just administration of the law. No one should fear entering our noble profession. It is for that reason that I humbly ask you that you sentence Mr. Stephen Smink to the maximum sentence possible under the law. Thank you.
Very much. I'll abstain this time.
So you're gonna decline to speak?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, there were 5 separate victims. The defendant plotted over the course of years to purposely murder the victims in retaliation for his being convicted and sentenced for an arson case in Cumberland County. Defendant set the plot in motion. Defendant transferred a large amount of memorabilia, guns, and a motorcycle as payment for the plot. Defendant reviewed the manner in which to kill the victims with the Russian hitman, purported Russian hitman. Defendant wanted the murders done whether at a party or through other means, heinous means. Facts and circumstances mandate consecutive sentences. It cannot be understated that the defendant committed all the crimes while incarcerated and actually serving a sentence for another case, aggravated arson. Consecutive sentences are not an abuse of discretion when separate crimes involve separate victims, separate acts of violence, or occur at separate times, State v. Roach. As such, the court must impose consecutive sentences for each attempted murder count, 19 years consecutively on counts 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 for an aggregate term of 95 years. The aggregate period of parole and eligibility, which would be 85% under the Early Release Act, I believe is approximately 80 years, 9 months. There are few crimes more serious than attempted murder, especially multiple victims, and especially in retaliation for defendants being convicted and sentenced for another crime. Here, aggravated arson.